The Galactic Council chamber was a monument to power, its vaulted ceiling shimmering with starlight captured from across the galaxy. Rows of alien representatives filled the tiered seats, their voices a discordant symphony of languages and tones. At the center of the chamber sat the king of the council, a towering figure encased in gilded armor, his presence radiating authority. His multiple eyes gleamed with arrogance as he rose from his throne, silencing the cacophony with a single gesture. Humans, the king's voice boomed, his translator lending an eerie precision to his words. You stand at the precipice of galactic recognition, yet you remain ungrateful. Your species has grown bold, too bold, tampering with technologies beyond your understanding, threatening the balance we have maintained for millennia. We demand tribute. The room quieted, save for the faint hum of the chamber's energy shields. All eyes turned to the solitary figure standing before the council's dais. Marcus Kane, Earth's appointed diplomat, was dwarfed by the grandeur of the chamber and the beings within it. Dressed in a simple gray suit, he seemed unimposing, yet there was a quiet intensity in his stance. His steel gray eyes swept the assembly, unreadable yet unflinching. What tribute do you demand? Kane's voice was calm, betraying no emotion. The king sneered. The resources of your world, metals, energy, and the servitude of your people. Your planet will be spared destruction, and you may even retain a semblance of autonomy. Refuse, and Earth will burn. Ripples of agreement flowed through the council. The gathered representatives, a patchwork of species, exchanged glances of smug approval. To them, humanity was a fledgling race, a newcomer to the galactic stage, whose defiance was nothing more than misplaced hubris. A reptilian delegate, scales glinting under the chamber lights, hissed, "They should be grateful we offer mercy at all. The last species to defy us was eradicated within days." Laughter rippled through the assembly. Marcus remained silent, letting the derision wash over him. Ambassador Kane, the king continued, his voice dripping with condescension. What say you? Will humanity accept its place, or must we demonstrate the futility of resistance? Marcus stepped forward, his movements deliberate. He reached into his pocket and retrieved a small device, placing it on the floor. The device projected a holographic image of Earth, spinning serenely in the void. For centuries, Marcus began, his voice steady but rising in strength, Earth has endured storms, wars, and catastrophes. We are a species forged by struggle. You think to threaten us with annihilation? We have faced it before and survived. The king's eyes narrowed. Are you refusing us? Marcus met the king's gaze without flinching. Humanity will not pay tribute to tyrants. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted in disbelief, some rising to their feet, others demanding immediate action. The king raised a hand, and the tumult subsided. You are either brave or foolish, Ambassador, the king said, his voice low and menacing. Do you truly believe your world can withstand the might of this council? Marcus smiled, a cold, calculated expression that sent a ripple of unease through the room. I don't believe, Your Majesty. I know. The king's laughter echoed, a guttural sound that reverberated off the chamber walls. You underestimate the price of defiance. We will reduce your planet to ash, and history will forget your arrogance. Marcus's expression darkened, and his voice dropped to a tone that carried quiet menace. You've underestimated us, Your Majesty. That will be your undoing. He turned and walked toward the chamber doors, his steps measured and deliberate. The council watched in stunned silence, unsure whether to mock his bravado or fear his confidence. As Marcus reached the exit, he stopped and glanced back over his shoulder. Earth does not bow, he said simply, then disappeared into the shadows of the corridor. For a moment, the council remained frozen, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a storm on the verge of breaking. Then the king rose, his eyes burning with fury. "So be it," he growled. "Let humanity's defiance be their epitaph." The stage was set, the die cast. The council, confident in their overwhelming power, saw humanity as nothing more than a stubborn obstacle to be crushed. But in Marcus Kane's quiet resolve lay a truth they had yet to understand. Humanity's strength was not in its technology, but in its unyielding will. The galaxy had demanded tribute. What it would receive instead would change its history forever. Marcus Kane stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station, his sharp gaze fixed on the expanse of stars. Beyond the transparent shield, countless pinpricks of light glimmered, each a reminder of the vast galactic power arrayed against humanity. Yet his expression betrayed no hesitation, only the calculated determination of a man who had gambled everything and intended to win. Behind him, a flurry of activity filled the station. Engineers, soldiers, and analysts worked in synchronized chaos, their voices blending into a low hum of efficiency. Marcus turned as General Amelia Reeve approached, her military uniform pristine, her face lined with the weight of countless battles. "The king's location is confirmed," Reeve said without preamble, sliding a datapad into his hands. "He's holed up in the council's capital city, protected by layers of defense systems and legions of guards. A fortress by any standard." Marcus studied the data. "Every fortress has a weakness," he said quietly. Reeve nodded. "We've identified a narrow window of opportunity. A covert insertion team can infiltrate their security grid, but the operation will require precision. One misstep, and we lose the element of surprise." Marcus handed the pad back to her. "Surprise is all we need." 2 days later, a human stealth ship emerged from the dark side of an uncharted moon near the Council's capital planet. The vessel, a sleek marvel of human ingenuity, was virtually indetectable, its hull coated in adaptive camouflage that bent light around it. Inside, a team of elite operatives sat in tense silence, their faces painted with grim resolve. At the front of the ship, Captain Elias Voss gave his final briefing. "The Council's arrogance is our greatest weapon. They've fortified themselves against brute force, but they've left gaps in their network because they believe no one would dare to strike them here." He gestured to a holographic map of the alien capital, highlighting their infiltration route. "We'll breach the perimeter under cover of their planetary shield's maintenance cycle. From there, we move fast and silent. Our target is the king. Extract him alive if possible, but neutralizing him is the priority." The operatives exchanged nods. They didn't need speeches, they knew the stakes. The mission began under the cover of night. The team descended onto the alien capital, their landing cloaked by the planet's dense atmosphere and jamming technologies. They moved like shadows through the sprawling metropolis, a labyrinth of alien architecture that pulsed with bioluminescent lights. Voss led the way, his every movement precise. The team's gear was state-of-the-art, adaptive armor that blended seamlessly with their surroundings, drones that scouted ahead, and weapons designed to exploit vulnerabilities in alien physiology. The king's palace loomed ahead, a monolithic structure encased in shimmering energy fields. Guards patrolled the perimeter, their forms hulking and grotesque. Voss signaled, and the team activated a small EMP device, temporarily disabling the outermost defenses. "Go," he whispered. The team slipped through the breach, moving with practiced efficiency. They avoided direct confrontations, neutralizing guards silently when necessary. Each step brought them closer to the throne room where the king resided. Inside the palace, the king sat in opulent splendor, unaware of the hunters closing in. His throne was a grotesque amalgamation of precious metals and organic material, a testament to his species' vanity. Around him, advisors debated the logistics of Earth's inevitable subjugation, their arrogance blinding them to the storm brewing in their midst. The human team reached the throne room's entrance, their drones mapping the interior in real time. Voss issued his final orders, swift and surgical. With a signal, the doors exploded inward, and chaos erupted. The king's guards surged forward, their weapons firing wildly, but the humans were faster. Using flash suppression grenades and precise marksmanship, they cut through the defenses with ruthless efficiency. The advisors fled, their cries echoing through the chamber. In moments, the king was surrounded, his gilded armor now a prison as the team restrained him. For the first time, fear flickered in his many eyes. "You dare?" he sputtered, struggling against his bonds. Voss leaned in, his voice cold and measured. "Earth doesn't bow. You should have learned that by now." Hours later, the galaxy awoke to a broadcast unlike any it had ever seen. Across countless worlds, screens lit up with the image of the captured king, bound and kneeling before a stoic Marcus Kane. Behind him, the Earth emblem glowed proudly, a silent reminder of humanity's defiance. Marcus stepped forward, his voice calm but resonant with authority. "To the Galactic Council and all its member species, humanity rejects your tyranny. Let this be a message to all who would threaten our world. We are not prey. We are not subjects. We are equals or your end." The king tried to speak, but Marcus silenced him with a glance. The broadcast ended abruptly, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In the aftermath, the council's chamber descended into chaos. Delegates argued fiercely, some calling for immediate retaliation, others voicing newfound fear of humanity's capabilities. Amid the turmoil, the king's absence was glaring, a symbol of the council's vulnerability. Back on Earth's orbital station, Marcus watched the galactic response unfold on a secure feed. General Reeves stood beside him, her expression a mixture of pride and apprehension. "This will make us enemies," she said. Marcus's gaze remained on the screen. "We already had enemies. Now we have their attention." The first blow had been struck, humanity had proven its resolve, but the true test was yet to come. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. The absence of the king's dominating presence hung heavy in the air, replaced by a holographic projection of Marcus Kane. Across the galaxy, billions watched the human diplomat stand tall, his steely expression a stark contrast to the chaos his actions had unleashed. The bound and defeated king of the council knelt beside him, stripped of his gilded armor, his once commanding aura shattered. Marcus's voice carried through the transmission, calm yet piercing. "For too long, this council has ruled through fear, demanding tribute and subjugation under the guise of maintaining order. Humanity will not stand for it. The galaxy does not belong to the strong, it belongs to the free." A murmur rippled through the council representatives. Some glared at the screen, seething with rage. Others, smaller species long cowed into submission, exchanged furtive glances of hope. Marcus turned to the king. "You believed humanity would kneel. You believed you could crush us with threats and violence. But humanity has a saying, never corner an animal that knows how to fight." With a gesture, Marcus signaled the guards flanking the king. A rope primitive yet deliberate in its symbolism was lowered. The king's many eyes widened in disbelief. "You can't. This is barbaric." Marcus's expression hardened. "Barbarism is enslaving worlds and calling it peace. This is justice." The galaxy held its collective breath as the broadcast reached its climax. The king's execution was swift, the ancient act of hanging chosen for its stark finality. As his lifeless body hung in the frame, the screen faded to black, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The reaction was immediate. "You've sealed your species' doom," roared a hulking delegate, his voice echoing across the chamber. "This is an act of war." But another voice, smaller yet resolute, cut through the uproar. "Perhaps it's time for change." The speaker, a frail insectoid from a species subjugated centuries ago, stood trembling but defiant. "We have all lived under the Council's tyranny. Humanity's actions are extreme, yes, but are they wrong? How many of us have secretly wished for freedom but lacked the courage to fight?" Others began to murmur, hesitant yet emboldened. A fissure had formed within the council, the unthinkable now a tangible possibility. Back on Earth, the mood was no less tense. Marcus Kane stood in the command station's central hub, surrounded by screens displaying the galactic fallout. General Amelia Reeve approached, her stern demeanor softened by a hint of admiration. "Rebellions are sparking across the outer territories," she reported. "Smaller species are rising up against their overlords, inspired by the broadcast. The Council's fleet is spread thin, trying to contain the unrest." Marcus nodded, his gaze fixed on a live feed of a distant star system where ships exchanged fire. "They underestimated the power of a symbol," he said. "The king's death isn't just an act of defiance, it's a rallying cry." Reeve folded her arms. "But symbols can cut both ways. The Council's core worlds won't let this go unanswered. They'll come for us, and they'll come hard." "They'll come," Marcus agreed, his voice steady. "But they'll find a united humanity waiting for them." Weeks passed, and the galaxy continued to unravel. The Council's fleets, once a symbol of unassailable might, faltered under the weight of rebellion. Dozens of species, emboldened by humanity's audacity, declared independence. Some formed alliances with Earth, eager to bolster their fledgling freedom. The Council, desperate to reclaim control, launched a massive assault on Earth. The fleet was a terrifying spectacle of firepower and alien engineering, blotting out the stars as it descended on the solar system. But humanity was ready. The Battle of Sol became legend. Using advanced tactics and experimental technology, Earth's forces turned the tide against the overwhelming invaders. Space mines hidden in asteroid fields, precision strikes from cloaked ships, and relentless determination defined humanity's defense. The turning point came when Marcus Kane himself addressed the enemy fleet, broadcasting from Earth's surface. His words were sharp and unyielding. "You can destroy our cities, scorch our lands, but you will never extinguish our resolve. For every human that falls, 10 more will rise. You may conquer, but you will never rule." The fleet hesitated, demoralized by the relentless human resistance and the crumbling council power structure. When reinforcements from allied rebel species arrived, the invaders broke ranks and fled. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council dissolved, its remnants fractured and powerless. In its place, a new coalition emerged, a loose alliance of free species, each governing itself but united in mutual respect and cooperation. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, became a cornerstone of this new order. Marcus Kane, now a symbol of defiance and leadership, declined offers of galactic authority, instead choosing to serve as Earth's ambassador in the coalition. Standing on the observation deck of the orbital station, Marcus gazed out at the stars. The galaxy was forever changed, and humanity had claimed its place not through conquest, but through resilience and unyielding courage. "Do you think it's over?" General Reeve asked, joining him. Marcus smiled faintly. "The fight for freedom is never over. But now, we're not fighting alone." The stars glittered in the void, a reminder that while the galaxy remained vast and dangerous, humanity had proven it could not only survive but thrive and lead.